Hari Om, Brother Shankara.
Hari Om, Naveen.
How are you, Brother Shankara?
Reasonably well this morning, and you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Good morning, Haima. Good morning, David.
Good morning, brother.
Hi, Devi.
Good morning, Evan.
So we got about 3 minutes till 11 o'clock. For those of you who are already connected, we're going to be reading the chapter Cast Out Fear, not chapter, the talk, Cast Out Fear. I don't know what page that is because I'm reading it on Kindle. If anybody has the book and finds out what page it is, sing out, and we'll announce it to everybody else. Have you got a still picture of me or moving? Looks like it's a still
picture.
Looks like it's a. I don't know why that is. Start video. There we go.
Huh.
I'm alive. There's always a button to push. Good morning, Balaji.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Brother
Neera.
Hi,
Good
Neera.
morning,
Bye-bye.
Good morning, Brother Shankara.
Good morning. Good morning. Balaji, you have the book, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. The talk we're going to be discussing, reading and discussing, is Cast Out Fear. So could you discover what page that's on so that we can announce it to people? Cast Out Fear.
That's the name of the chapter?
135.
The talk. 135, okay. For anybody who has the book, it's 135. Good morning, Catherine. Naveen, I haven't seen Swayam shining face. Is she with you this morning?
She's coming, just she went to get tea.
Good, good, good.
Yeah, she's going to join right now.
That's one of the nice things about this. You know,
Yes.
I have a little cup of coffee here. Good morning,
Right.
Peter.
Good morning, brother. How are you?
I'm quite well. Good morning,
Glad to hear
Catherine.
it.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. We're going to start on page 1. If you have the book, we're going to start on page 135.
Hi.
The chapter is called Cast Out Fear. The talk is called Cast Out Fear. Okay, we'll wait just one more minute before we start. According to this clock on this computer, it's 11:01. And now it's 11:02, so we'll start. Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all beings everywhere. Before we start, for those of you who are following along on the Wednesday class in the Gita, we just discussed this idea that Krishna puts forward, that individually we are not the doer. Now this is a real conundrum. So I would like to just share this. Yogi Berra once said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. Which of course was meant as a joke, but there's a profundity there. The very fact that we are aware of choices is an indication of our condition of greater awakeness. Most people in the world simply are on a kind of autopilot and don't really, except in the most superficial kind of things, really think about choice. They simply operate from that autopilot basis. So if we feel as if we have a choice, then we're already about more profound things. We are already somewhere further along the path. And the idea is, when we look at one of these forks in the road, there's a choice. Who's going to make the choice? Well, if we just take the witness position and gaze on the choice, the answer will be self-evident. We may, and this is where we generate karma, because we think we're the doer and we think we're the one who's making the choice. We may be willful and take the lesser of the two choices. And this is where we generate karma and continue to bump along in the dark with, kind of like in those fun zone rides in a carnival. Suddenly things appear out of the dark at you and they're scary and they seem to gonna be bump into you, and just at the last minute you miss them. Well, in real life, of course, you don't, as long as we're generating karma, we don't miss them. So the access to the buddhi, the determinative function within us, which is commonly called conscience, is available to us. And if we just gaze upon this fork in the road, and then the answer will be self-evident. And so then it isn't a willful choice, it is simply wisdom indicating the fork and which fork of the road to take. Any questions or comments about that before we go on? Okay. We're on page 135 in the book Realizing God. The talk that we're going to read from of Swami Prabhavananda's is Cast Out Fear. And you will see as we go along why that selection was made today. Cast out fear. The world in which we live is a world of incessant fear and constant worry. We are beset with fear at every step, and worries follow us constantly. If we overcome one difficulty, there is another. Thus it goes. We are afraid to face life itself for its uncertainties, and we are afraid to die. Does that sound like that song, The Old Man River? Tired of living, but scared of dying? We are afraid to face life itself for its uncertainties, and we are afraid to die. If we have a job, we're afraid of losing it. If we have no job, we're afraid we might not get one. If we have economic security today, we are afraid we might lose it tomorrow. If we don't have it, we're afraid we may not get it. And of course, right now, this is a very painful reality for literally millions of people here in the United States and billions of people around the world. So this is not some theoretical consideration the Swami is talking about here. If we have economic security today, we're afraid we might lose it tomorrow. If we don't have it, we're afraid we may not get it. The world by its very nature is ever changing. The Sanskrit word for world, actually universe, world and universe, is jagat, which means that which changes. So the very nature of universe, of the world, is change. As it says in the Chandi, Mother, you bring about minutes, moments, and other divisions of time in order to change things, in order to bring about change in things, and have thus the power to destroy the universe.
Shut the fuck up, no one asked.
I'm sorry, who is that?
Obama. I'm President Obama.
Please go away. We don't need to have this kind of intrusion. This is just an unpleasant intrusion into what is otherwise a very lovely time. So if you could just please sign off, I'd very much appreciate it. Cindy, shall I hit the share screen so that you can have something to do about this if it's possible? I can't hear you, so.
He signed off.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you, whoever it was, for listening.
Shankara, sorry. I didn't know I was muted. People, I have disabled share screen for all of the meetings except for you. So a lot of the Zoom bombers come in, what they want to do is share stuff on the screen, and it's disabled. And
okay,
there's other things we'll talk about later. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir, very much. Hello, Aaron. Hello, Justine. Okay, the Sanskrit word for universe or world is jagat, which means that which changes and passes. There is nothing in this world that we can hold on to. As Buddha, and let's just pause and grasp that. When the Swami says there's nothing in this world that we can hold on to, he's not speaking in a theoretical sense. So what is this point to? The futility of trying to hold on to anything. If we do that, we're just wasting our time and energy. Whatever is, as long as it persists and it's enjoyable, we enjoy it. If it's not enjoyable, we endure it. But we must not try to hold on to either our enjoyment or our aversion. There is nothing in this world that we can hold on to. As Buddha once pointed out, can we attempt to make the clouds stay? Can we attempt to make the clouds stay? It is the nature of the river to flow. It is the nature of this world to flow. There are always uncertainties, and with them come fear in every life. Now notice that the Swami doesn't exempt anyone. Even Sri Ramakrishna experienced fear. Sri Ramakrishna experienced fear because people told him that he'd gone insane, that everything he was experiencing was a delusion. And he was in terrible pain because of his spiritual practices. He had terrible physical pain. He had a burning sensation throughout his body. He would try to get some relief by immersing himself in the Ganga, and that would last for just a short time. It wasn't until the Bhairavi Brahmani came and was able to explain to him what it was that it was actually happening to him and ease his that physical pain by practices that she knew. She made some sandal paste poultice, so to speak, and smeared it on his body. But even Sri Ramakrishna experienced fear. So this is what the Swami means. And with these uncertainties come fear in every life. We find the rise and fall of nations and empires. In individual lives, we find rise and fall. We seek beauty, health, happiness, position, economic security, intellect, advancement. Now notice he doesn't say there's anything wrong with seeking any of those things. We seek beauty, health, happiness, position, economic security, intellect, and advantage. We find them, but how long can we hold on to them? They pass away. And this is where he's heading us, that the way to cast out fear is to acknowledge this transitory reality. And so I'll just let the Swami do the talking. I am talking like a great pessimist because I don't see anything in life that we can hold on to as something of eternal value. But then, as I shall point out, religion makes us the greatest of opportunities, of opportunists. No, I'm sorry. But then, as I shall point out, religion makes us the greatest of optimists. He was saying he's talking as a pessimist. Religion makes us the greatest of optimists. In order that we attain that optimism with certitude, we have to be pessimistic with regard to what we see and experience only with our senses. In short, whether we want to call ourselves pessimists or optimists, this is the experience of everyone. We live in fear. There is no question about that. It is a fact we have to face. The ostrich in the fable may hide its head in the sand when it faces danger, but that does not free it from danger. We may hide ourselves, drink, and get intoxicated to forget the worries of the world. We may drink or get intoxicated to forget the worries of the world, but we have to wake up and face our situations. Some religions play on our fears to make us fear God. We are afraid not only of this life and death, but we are afraid of the next life. We are not only afraid of the future, while we are living here, but afraid of what will happen to us when we die. What a cruel way to have us live. What a cruel way to have us live. So listen to what the Swami says as he develops this idea. Religion may play on our fears, but if we go to the source of every religion, we shall find out differently. If you read the Upanishads, there is one note running throughout: become fearless. Upon what grounds can we be fearless is the question. The Upanishads are very clear upon that point. Knowing the bliss of God, one casts out all fear. Knowing the bliss of God, one casts out all fear. The mark of genuine religion is freedom from fear. It is not a question of bravado, but of grounding ourselves upon something. Where we positively become fearless, knowing there is no danger, no worry, no troubles. Now, this can be summarized very sweetly in what Father Thomas Keating said, the Catholic who led, he was a Carmelite, and he led a great monastery and started the snow mass under spiritual dialogue and so on. A great soul. He said in the last few months of his life, when you truly trust God, you don't have a care in the world. But that trust, of course, cannot be something that we fabricate. We have to have the knowledge that he had that allows us to trust God. So when the Swami is telling us, when we positively become fearless, knowing there is no danger, no worry, no troubles, that is what religion seeks to give us. True religion, he's saying. The mark of genuine spiritual life is that fearlessness. Recall the incident of the meeting between Alexander the Great and a holy man of India. Alexander was impressed by this man's wisdom and wanted him to return with him to Greece. He refused. Well, let's just start at the beginning of the story. The Swami doesn't tell the whole story. He's told it in other settings, so he doesn't repeat it. What happens is Alexander would ride at the head of his troops and into conquered territories, and everyone was expected to bow down to him. Everyone was expected to literally bow down. He came and he found this holy man sitting on a stump. And the holy man didn't move a muscle as Alexander rode up. And Alexander said, "What? Are you deaf, dumb, and blind? Don't you know what you're supposed to do?" The man said, "I don't know what I'm supposed to do, no." And Alexander said, "You're supposed to bow down to me." And the man says, "I bow down to no one." And Alexander drew his sword and said, "Don't you know that with one swipe of my sword, I can just cut off your head?" And the man just burst into laughter. This is the story. It's written down in the annals of Alexander's excursion into Afghanistan and India. And Alexander was flabbergasted at this man's laughter. He said, "Why are you laughing?" He said, "Because the holy man said, you can kill this body, so what? You can't injure me at all with anything that you possess." And so that's what it means when the Swami says that Alexander was impressed by this man's wisdom and wanted him to return with him to Greece. The holy man refused. Alexander tempted him with wealth and enjoyments. The holy man refused again, saying, "What need have I of those things? The trees of the forest supply me with fruits and food. The water in the river gives me drink. The grass is my bed, the sky is my room. What need have I of anything else? When no temptation could win this man, Alexander said, do you know what power I have? I can force you to come with me. If you don't, I'll kill you. The holy man laughed loudly right in his face and said, this is the greatest lie you've ever uttered in your life. You say you can kill me? Nothing can kill me. Fire cannot burn me. Sword, he's quoting from the Gita, of course. Nothing can kill me. Fire cannot burn me. Sword cannot wound me. Water cannot wet me. Wind cannot dry me. I am the eternal spirit. So this is the fearlessness that we can have if we know that we are the eternal spirit. We read this as a story of ancient India, but I am telling you of modern India. I have sat at the feet of such holy men who possess nothing of this world, no power, no kingdom, no wealth, who possessed only one thing, and that is the bliss of God. Not only were they themselves fearless, but anyone sitting at their feet could feel that fearlessness in themselves. My master used to tell us, be fearless yourself and spread that fearlessness to others. Let none be afraid.
In a meeting now.
And so we have this sense when we're in the presence of these holy people. All right, we can be in their presence when we have their pictures. We can have their presence when we take their name. Whoever it is that's talking, please mute yourself. So Brahmananda said to Prabhavananda, be fearless yourself and spread that fearlessness to others. Let none be afraid. And that is the ideal of spiritual life. What is there to fear if you can touch eternity? And that's what you touch when you touch the spirit of the divine in these holy people. And it isn't just these few that Swami Prabhavananda knew. You can find this same story in Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint Catherine of Siena, Rabia, all of these great women saints as well. It isn't just exclusively the province of these holy men that Prabhavananda knew. I'll tell you a story of a woman that I knew. When we were working on getting the Vivekananda retreat Ridgely started, it had been the Margisons, the Lord Margison and his wife's property. It had been in the family's possession since Vivekananda stayed there for a total of 14 weeks. And there was a lot of work in order to get it to be an official center of the Ramakrishna order, which it is now. One of the primary people involved in this was a woman named Sister Gargi, Marie Louise Burke. You can read her books, New Discoveries, about Vivekananda's work in the West. She was, though she wasn't in his physical presence, she was his daughter. I mean, this is how she lived her life. And having touched him, having known and touched him in that inner way, she was fearless. At the end, toward the end of her life, she got cancer. And she simply said, I'm not going to have this cancer take my life until I finish this book. And that was the attitude she took. And sure enough, the cancer went into remission. She took treatments, yes, there's no two ways about that. She took treatments, but I was with her. I knew her. I talked to her at this time. She was not going to give in to fear of the cancer, to the pain of the cancer, to any of that. She simply said, this will not obtain. This is not going to happen. And the cancer went into remission. She finished her book. Then the cancer came back and she died. That is all a true story. Sister Gargi. And others, of course, are there. If you read the story of Saint Teresa of Calcutta, what a brave soul she was. And if you read the full story, you find it was not easy. It was a struggle for her. She had to battle the same thing that the Swami said we all do. We have to battle fear and doubt. But she did that. And so the Swami now goes back to the question, what is the real source of our anguish and bondage? The cause is nothing but ignorance. The tragedy is that we are not conscious of our ignorance. And that's where we started this morning, talking about how to deal with this conundrum of doership. Just sit and gaze on the situation as the witness, and you see where the ignorance comes from, and you get a clear idea of what is the best thing to do. It is ignorance that causes fear and bondage, but what can take it away? Darkness can be removed by light. Ignorance can be removed by knowledge. Changing the circumstances and conditions of your life will not take away fear. Now, this is such an important thing. You know, whatever we think is the problems, if we say, well, if I just move to Denver, you know, everything will be fine. Everything's different in Denver. No, it's not, because what's not different is what you took with you. That same ignorance that you had when you thought you would move to Denver and move to Denver is going to be with you when you get to Denver. So changing the circumstances and conditions of your life will not take away fear. If you free yourself from immediate troubles, newer troubles arise. What are you going to do about them? It is only when you know the reality behind this appearance, when you reach God, that you become fearless. You have to rise above this phenomenal appearance and phenomenal self. At present, our consciousness is, as it were, out of focus. What a lovely way to put it. It used to be that you had to tune your television set. You had to adjust the rabbit ears or the antenna, and it would come into focus. These days we don't have that. You know, you used to have to adjust a camera, an actual physical film camera, to be in focus. These days we've kind of lost that idea a little bit because things focus themselves. But just think of when you need glasses and you don't have glasses. When you don't have the glasses on, things are out of focus. When you put them on, then they're in focus. If you consider yourself the body, and most of us do, then you try to keep it as you love it. Isn't that a fact? And this is one of the things that is, of course, right now we're facing this dreadful fear of losing our health and the health of our loved ones to this virus. So we're trying to maintain our bodies, being as sane as we can. However, you cannot. It is just like bidding the clouds to stay. But if you can reach the real self, which is not subject to surface life or death, which is not affected by the happiness or misery of the world, or by virtue or vice. I'll start that. But if you can reach the real self, which is not subject to surface life or death, which is not affected by the happiness or misery of the world, or by virtue or vice, which is beyond relativity, then you become grounded in a reality where fear itself fears to approach. Sri Ramakrishna says what happens is that which generates the fear, the ego, it becomes like a shy child and retreats into the shadows. It doesn't try to be the center of attention and convince you of all of these horrors. When you become grounded in a reality where fear itself fears to approach. There is a prayer in the Upanishads: lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from death to immortality, lead us from darkness to light. It's from the Great Forest Upanishad, the Brihadaranya Upanishad. So what is ignorance? To see the world only partially. Going back to the metaphor of out of focus. If things are out of focus, you're not seeing them clearly. You're only seeing them partially. You're not seeing them fully. So what is ignorance? To see the world only partially. We see the events and happenings in the history of mankind and of our individual lives only partially. Partial truth is not truth at all. It is even more dangerous than falsehood. Why? Falsehood, you can know the truth, and the truth makes the falsehood apparent that it's false. But when your vision is partial, you don't see that clearly. Partial truth is not truth at all. It is even more dangerous than falsehood. Take, for instance, a beautiful painting. Instead of looking at the whole painting, you look at only one point. This world that we experience with our finite consciousness is only a part of the whole. In that part, we find all these worries, troubles, wars, changes. In our individual lives, we see only a portion of life: chaos, misery, life, death. As long as we live within this portion, which is on the surface, there is no escape.
Excuse me, Mr. Shankara.
Yes.
Can you read the chat for me and respond?
I'm sorry, say it again, please.
Can you read and respond to me, please? Thank you.
Well, what is it that you'd like me to respond to?
The chat.
Let me just see it. It says Nick Tryon or Tryon, Tyrone Nick Tyrone G raised hand. Raised hand. What does that mean? I'm sorry, I don't see it.
Give me a moment, please.
All right, here it is. I have recently joined this meeting, not recognizing
Don't read it out.
it was
please.
a very good moment and said terrible things without realizing. I'm sorry. You're quite forgiven. You're quite forgiving. Don't worry about it at all. So we'll just leave it at that. So thank you. I don't know how to get rid of that, so we'll just leave it be. Oh, gracious. Excuse me, I just have to do it this way. Okay. I don't know how to get rid of that chat window, so.
Brother Shankara, if you click a couple of times on the chat at the bottom of your screen, that will go away. Just click with your mouse or something. Just click once or twice. That's what happened to me. And then that side window with the message, chat window will go away. It will condense into small.
I'm sorry, it isn't happening.
It's
So
not happening?
No, it's not going away. So thank you, Haima.
Okay.
So as long as we live within the superficial portion, the surface portion, which is, there is no escape. There are those who believe they can straighten out the world and straighten out their individual lives. That is a good idea. That is a good ideal, to face the facts of life. But after you have done all I'm sorry. It's doing that thing of going backwards again. All history of mankind and our oh no, partial truth, no, that's, oh dear. I'm so sorry. When this happens, I just don't know how to do it anything other than what I'm doing. It's going backwards. I don't understand.
Did you try the down arrow key, Brother Shankara? Sometimes
I have
the down
tried the
arrow,
keys
up
here.
arrow,
They don't work. They don't work.
they're not working. Ah, okay.
It is just going backwards. It's not going forward. But after you've done all that, what happens? Is it not like the dog's curly tail? You straighten it out and again it curls. That is the very nature of the dog's tail. I don't know if you've ever had a dog with a curly tail, but I've actually done it. I used to have a Basenji and it was quite amusing actually. What makes the world appear to me as it does? When I see the world as always changing, it is my ignorance that makes me see that. How can my ignorance be removed? And who can remove it? Only I can remove it. Then what? Then all this dreaming of evil and change departs like a dream. There is a veil over our eyes, a veil over our senses. What we see and know is darkness. If that darkness is removed by illumination, we shall see what is behind the changing phenomena and behind our individual selves. So something is to be removed. The Upanishads call that which we see behind Satchidananda, infinite existence, infinite happiness, and eternal consciousness. God can be known, not merely intellectually, but directly and immediately. It is only when we come nearer, when we get a glimpse of God, that fearlessness comes in the heart. It is an actual experience that has to come. Before you attempt that, believe wholeheartedly, I can know God. Now, what the Swami means is take a stand for it. Just take a mental and emotional stance. I can know God. I can do this. I can become fearless. It's not that you're becoming in a condition of blind faith. No, you're simply taking a stand that based on the assertion of these great teachers, that you too can do this, that this is not beyond you. So before you attempt that, believe wholeheartedly, I can know God. In him we find the source of light, happiness, and freedom. If you believe that first, then there will become the urge, to devote yourself to reaching that ideal. And this is the fact. If you make the attempt, you will find yourself moving toward that light. This is the great promise of all of the teachers. You find it in Buddha, you find it in Allah, you find it in Christ, you find it in Sri Ramakrishna, you find it in Krishna. Jesus put it very simply, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else shall be added unto you. If you make the attempt, you will find yourself moving toward that light. It is a fact, just as 2 + 2 makes 4. When you know the true world and the true self, then you shall find there is a perfect harmony between this world and God. And this is the testimony of the saints. They say it over and over. You go to the saints from whatever tradition, you find this, that they say, behind the appearance, behind this ruffled surface of reality, there is a perfect harmony between this world, perfect harmony between this world and God. They are not separate. God is everywhere. When we reach that, we become free from fear. Perfect. Okay, we have 15 minutes left in which we can make real that prayer that we used to start this, and that is that we are together in this. We are studying together the art of spirituality. So please, whatever you have to say, whatever you have to contribute, whatever you have to ask, please do it. This is where we are a congregation. Please.
I have a comment to make, Brother Shankara.
Yes,
This is Hannah. I know many philosophers said, where there is hope, there is no room for fear. I truly believe in that. When we're hopeful, something good will come out of any bad, any adversity, that there's no room for fear. Isn't that true?
Well, you know, the hope has to be based on something. The hope can't be just a sentimental hope. It has to be a hope based in some knowledge of truth. So yes, the hope is where there is genuine hope.
Yes.
There is no fear, but the hope has to be based in knowledge, not sentimentality.
Yes, through spirituality, really, spiritual belief.
Yes.
Spiritual strength. That's where the hope comes. Real true hope comes from the spiritual beliefs.
Yes.
I think, which I feel.
That's how it seems to us.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
But we mustn't give way to magical thinking.
No.
Magical thinking is a true enemy of spiritual progress.
Agree with you. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I think Justine speaking. Hello, it's Justine
Hello,
speaking.
Justine. Yes, good.
Yeah, I think that
Yes.
you know that, but there may be others out there who haven't discussed this and maybe aren't as willing to come out in public with it. But when you have anxiety issues and you've had them since you were 3 years old, this whole concept of living without fear can, in a certain way, become quite burdensome. I feel like if I'm not achieving that, what is the point to all of this? Why am I practicing this if my nervous system is not allowing me that peace? And you and I have talked about that, but I think I'm probably not the only one who experiences that frustration, that desire to be free of that, and yet having a biology that makes it very, very challenging.
Yes, indeed. And it isn't, but you and I have talked about it. And the way to get some relief is to learn to live in that witness position and simply understand that this biological phenomenon is of the body and of the mind, not of the truth of yourself. And it doesn't make it go away. It doesn't make it better. It simply gives you a refuge, a spiritual refuge that allows you to say, yes, this is there. My biology, my brain chemistry produces this. And just like some people have epilepsy, some people have muscular dystrophy, some people have other neurological issues. There is anxiety and depression, and it is just a debility, just like the others. But it's very hard to endure. There is no two ways about it. And so it's just necessary to learn, if one can, to retreat to that witness position and take an attitude of, this is something I am witnessing. This is something I'm seeing happen to this spacesuit that I inhabit. Thank you, Justine. That's very true. No two ways about it. And anyone who does experience it, it is a reality, and anyone who tries to deny it is just being a damn fool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
Swayam?
Yes, Swayam.
I just wanted to sort of give my thoughts. When you say that take a stand, that I can know God and I can become fearless, that taking a stand is probably what is encompassed by the word Shraddha in Sanskrit.
It becomes Shraddha. It becomes Shraddha, Swayam. Shraddha is true faith. Shraddha is faith from conviction. Taking a stand is, I am believing in this because the scriptures say it's true, because the teachers say it's true. I'm going to make this work for me, and they promise that if I do and I persist, it will work. So then it becomes Shraddha, based on your experience over time as it does work.
And I suppose one of the tools for that is the satsang.
Yes, oh, absolutely. That's why it's so important that we gather together like this and be together like this. Because we do empower one another. That's why I so emphasize this last part of each hour we're together. Let us encourage one another. Let us be with one another and say to one another, yes, I am doing this, and I share the anxieties, the concerns, the joys, the triumphs of each of you. I sorrow with you. I exult with you. I am with you in my heart. Thank you, Swayam. Yes, it becomes Shraddha. Anyone else?
I had a thought about what Justine was saying about anxiety and its relationship to fear. I mean, it's in what we were reading. We're kind of an anxious creature.
Yes.
Human beings are, and we have a lot to be anxious about.
Amen.
But I hope this connects, these dots connect in the way they are in my mind. But I was reading earlier today in Swamiji's Raja Yoga about stored karmas that you come into into a life with, that they won't all necessarily manifest depending on the environment that you're in. Which I may be reading it wrong, but it says to me that, I mean, we do have some little bit of choice. You know, we may find ourselves in a bad environment that brings out our anxiety, our depression more than another environment.
Yes.
And it's something that we can be mindful about and can try to put ourselves in an environment. And that includes surrounding ourselves with people, like-minded people and caring people. And, you know, it's the holy company thing. And
we have a screen full right here. Yes.
Yeah. And it helps a great deal, I think, with anxiety. And it's difficult sometimes to do that, to find that community, or to remove yourself from the company of people because they bring out things in you that aren't so great and that maybe bring up your anxiety more. I mean, I've found that to be true in my own life a lot.
Absolutely. And this is why Swami Swahananda said over and over, the only true measure of spiritual progress is change in behavior. You need to change the company you're with, not because they're bad people, but because, as you just said, they don't bring out the best in you. They bring out something other than the best in you. So it isn't like you're shoving them into the outer darkness. You're simply saying, I just cannot invest time with you. And you probably don't say it in so many words. You simply move away from them. But that's a very good point. Changing your company and being in the company of such as who are with us this morning makes such a difference.
Shankara, this is Jenny.
Yes, Jenny.
So I really like what both Justine and Cindy said. But I also, part of what you read today said that changing the circumstances of your life is not going to do it. Remember when you talked about
yes.
So can you comment on this seeming contradiction?
Well, there is no contradiction, Jenny. If you change, and therefore you're moving away from the people that are causing you to feel badly about yourself or bring out the worst in you. First, you change. But if you change your circumstances in the hopes that you will change, then what you'll do is you'll simply find some more people like the ones you left. So it's you who has to change first. And then having made that change, you recognize that the company I'm keeping, at least in part, is not the best. So you make the change, then you change your circumstances. If you change your circumstances and hoping it will change you, that's the cart before the horse.
That makes total sense. That's a really good answer, Brother Shankara.
Thank you.
You know, I have found that during this self-isolation, I've really liked it because I like kind of solitude and quiet and not having to rush around to appointments and things like that. I can feel a little bit of an attachment to it.
Well, it's as long as it's a spiritual attachment, as long as it's because it's improving your spiritual life. And there's nothing wrong when it's an old expression, alone in good company.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let it rest. Let yourself rest in that.
Yes, thank you.
You bet.
Brother Shankara,
Yes, dear.
this is just sort of a light-hearted aside. When I
Holy
was
goodness. Well, let's have one of those.
when I was flying back from India, I happened to catch glimpses of this movie, and I don't remember the title or anything, but it's about this guy who has a highly developed, I guess, sense of hearing. And so he, his job or his profession is he goes to people's residences, and then he will listen to the vibrations of the various machinery, the washing machine or the refrigerator or the toaster oven, and then after interviewing the client, he would figure out what was it in that environment, which particular vibration was not in tune with the person's, I guess, own vibration, and he would bring out solutions like change the toaster oven or change the refrigerator, and it would solve people's depression or anxiety. So I don't.
Sounds a little superficial, doesn't it? But
Yes.
there is such a thing as feng shui. There is such a thing as feng shui. The fact that your environment, that what you surround yourself with, does have an effect on you. If you want to read something about this in profound meditation on this, read Barbara Brown Taylor's "Learning to Walk in the Dark," and so that she really spells out what a difference it makes when you change yourself so that you can allow the world around you to change. And so it's Learning to Walk in the Dark by Barbara Brown Taylor. Thank you, Swayam.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, well, it's pretty close to the end of the hour.
One small comment, Brother Shankara.
Yes, I am. Haima?
If we really look into it, after every bitter struggle of winter, spring comes again. Every year, that's what Walt Whitman said, and which is very, very true. We go through so much of struggle in the winter time, and there comes the spring. So we will have spring soon. After all this is over, I know for sure there will be spring.
Yes, that's one of the things about the changing world. It isn't always going to change for the worse. It will change for the better. And that's where we get deceived. Oh, things are getting better. I'm really enjoying the spring. Oh, what fun. And then, come the heat and mosquitoes of summer. And then we have another respite in the fall. And then we go into winter.
Exactly.
If it isn't one thing, it's another.
Yeah. Thank you. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brother Shankara, sorry, I see the record button. So are these talks also recorded and posted somewhere?
Yes, they are. They're on the YouTube channel.
YouTube channel. Okay.
You can find them on the YouTube channel. Cindy has created a very, very nice environment for them there. When you see it, you'll like it.
So is it Vedanta Atlanta? What is the YouTube
Vedanta
channel?
Atlanta
If you search for Vedanta Center of Atlanta, it should come up, the channel. It's also, I think it's on the homepage. There's a link and it's in the e-news. Every week we've been putting it in the e-news now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for reminding us. These are recorded.
Shankaraji?
Yes, Balakrishna.
What is the name of the book on Sister Gargi? What is the book she wrote?
She wrote a number of books. The series of books that she wrote about Vivekananda were new discoveries. The New Discoveries series about Vivekananda's work here in the West. She also wrote a book about Swami Ashokananda called A Heart Poured Out. And the last part of her work, this was included in the New Discoveries. The book that she was working on was the last volume of New Discoveries.
The other thing I just wanted to bring it, last night we were reading about the Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter.
Yes.
Is exactly the Swami says that, you know, all this karma yoga, the sattvic karma is the karma yoga, is equivalent to karma yoga. And all that is helps you to transform yourself.
Yes. Well, you'll find that the Swami never strays very far from the Gita.
Yes.
I mean, his master, his guru was Swami Brahmananda, the eternal companion, who was Balaram, Krishna's brother. So,
can I just, if you
Yes,
get one more minute.
Yeah.
I was thinking about how y'all were talking about, you know, spring coming and yes, things change, things are changing, but I feel one of the lessons that we may miss if we're not careful about what's going on right now with the coronavirus and other things going on in the natural world is, you know, most of us, we do one of two things when we're confronted with a problem, especially a scary problem that brings up fear. And the one, which is, I think, more common, is to, you know, thumb through our collection of notions about things. And because we have them.
Oh, yes.
Don't we? And we believe, and those notions are things that we've believed for a long time. Oh, well, this happens and that means this, period, move on. And the other way to do it is to look at exactly what's going on and realize, well, it probably doesn't fit my notions. Let me see what's really going on here. And
Exactly.
it's just, I just feel like we need to quit falling back and waiting for this to be over, because there is no over. This isn't going to be over. This is a big change. This is changing the way we live and are.
Yes.
And some of us won't be able to help just autopiloting back into what we did before, but it's not going to work.
No, it will not.
So it might be better. Yeah.
The new world will be transformed, and this is part of a very big transformation that's going on, and so it's just part of something that's much bigger.
And just one more thing, I think that the fear comes from clinging to the notions about how things should be, and then seeing that it's not going that way, and then you get fearful, and it's because you're attached to this view of how things should be. Whereas if you do stay present and see what is before you, you can react with curiosity rather than fear and attachment to it.
Wonderful, wonderfully put.
I truly agree with her, and also we will have new normal. We're not going to have the same normal that we had before the corona.
Yeah.
That's one thing we all have to face and be ready for, that new normal. Maybe
hope
wearing a mask for a couple of years, God knows what else. So you're right, Cindy, I agree with you. Thank you.
Okay, dears, I have a choice. I can leave you to talk among yourselves and go to the bathroom, or I can end the meeting and go to the bathroom. Which would you prefer? Really and truly, would you like to continue talking among yourselves?
You can end it, Brother Shankara.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm done. I'll tune in tomorrow.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Everybody.
much, brother.
Sorry to do this, but
Okay.
Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya abir moiti. O beloved Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from thy lesser truth to thy highest truth. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through with thy everlasting shining presence. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace be unto us and to all beings everywhere. See you tomorrow morning.
You.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.